So, today I have to get this off my chest. Ever since I was really young, probably around the same time my stepmom married my dad, so about 8 years old, I've had very vibrant dreams. I'm talking about like in-depth dreams where I wake up unsure what real life is and what isn't. And I love them. I plan to talk about some of them soon, especially my favorite ones, but right now I need some help. I just need to get this off my chest. I want to use this video kind of as an introduction to all of the dreams that I have and how my mind works, I guess. On top of that, I'm almost at 900 subscribers. Last week I was at 470, and you all are way too good to me. Thank you all so much for your support. I am permanently treasuring each and every one of you. If you didn't see my Twitter, obviously I'm not talking about Chill Out and vrchat and what their strengths are. That's just because I want to spend more time on that video and actually take the time to fairly judge both of them. I have a lot more experience with Facebook than Chill Out, so it wouldn't be fair if I said, oh, this is too hard to understand, for example, if I didn't actually try to understand it. So that'll be coming later, probably sometime next month. So if you came for that, I'm sorry, but it will be coming soon. One more final thing to add as well is that YouTube has been deleting my comments, and it's driving me up a wall. I want to talk to them about it, but I'm not allowed to talk to them until I get monetized, apparently. So if you have a comment and you posted it down there and it got deleted, let me know. Tell me what the comment was roughly about, and I've been taking screenshots and compiling a list that I'm going to be sending to YouTube and being like, hey, listen, I don't appreciate my stuff getting deleted. Can you fix it, please? But on top of that as well is just I want to talk about that I will never delete somebody's comment unless your comment I feel is inappropriate. Other than that, I'll never delete it. But with that, let's get started with this. I have spent my entire life being told that I lie about my dreams, or that they're crazy enough that I could write books about them. Which, I mean, is fair. That's fine. I've never planned to write a book about them, but hey, if people are interested enough, maybe one day. Until then, though, I'm going to just talk about it on YouTube and see if anybody has interest. To start out first, I do want to talk about some things that happen in my dreams. I don't know if they're common in other dreams. I've asked friends and they've all said no, but I need to talk about my 3 selves. In my dreams, I always have 3 of me. The first one is the first person self. This is the form that is in the dream and living the dream. What they see in the dream is their life. Then there's the second self, which is also in the dream, but kind of as a spirit. They are not aware it's a dream still, but they are aware of everything that is happening in the dream. If someone is lying or there's a trap up ahead, sometimes the second self can give hints to the first self, but not often. They don't really communicate much or that well. We then have the third self. When I go into my third self, I know it's a dream. It's the closest to me that I can get. It's almost like lucid dreaming, but it's not because I have no power over the dream whatsoever. It's kind of like I'm watching through a movie screen or like a snow globe. I don't really know a better way to explain it. I can't talk to either self below. I just watch it like it's a TV show. And I've heard that some people can dream of being someone else, but I'm always just me. Sometimes I'll be undercover and I'll have like a different name. And once or twice, maybe, I've possessed someone in my dreams, but it's always been me doing the actions. I feel like I'm Barbie with a new movie coming out, and I don't fit the qualifications, but they kind of just force it to work anyways. But these 3 selves aren't always together in my dreams. Not every dream has all 3. Sometimes I'll only be in the third, or sometimes I'll only be in the first, or sometimes it's just the first and the third, or the first and the second. It's not often that I jump into all 3, actually. It's more often than not that it's a combo. And when I do jump, I don't have any recollection of being any of the other selves. Even on the third self, I'll have no idea that I was the first or second. It'll be like I'm just watching it and being like, what are these idiots doing? Not realizing that I was the idiot just a few seconds before making that decision. The second important thing to add as a little pre-qualification for this is that I have a dream museum. And I visit the Dream Museum. I used to visit it once a year, but I haven't seen it in a few years, so it's once every few years now. And it is the best experience. That is usually the top tier dream that I can have, because it's literally what I say. It's a museum filled with every single dream that I've had. And dreams I don't even remember are still stored there, and I can go back into them. And it's kind of like Mario 64 with the paintings, and I have to like jump through. So it's like, I may have had no recollection of them, but the second I see them, I'm like, oh, that one, I remember that. And then I could visit them and redo them, either the same or do something different. However, a very important thing to note is that in my museum, I have one dream and one nightmare that I have never been able to return to. This video is specifically about the nightmare. I can't remember the exact age I was when this dream first showed up, but I know it was before high school, since high school was when I had a dream that I was trapped in for 6 weeks. It wasn't 6 weeks of real time, I was trapped in the dream, like day and night, 6 weeks total, roughly. It's a very weird dream. I can talk about that one later too. But since I've had that nightmare, something has followed me my entire life, from dream to dream, and I can tell when it's there because I get this feeling. And when I get this feeling, my body forces myself awake if it gets too close. I don't really know what'll happen if I stay and meet it. I don't really want to try and stay and meet it. And at first, I had no real evidence besides the fact of this gut feeling that it was dangerous. Until a few weeks ago. The nightmare itself was already scary enough. I started out playing in one of those play areas that are like in McDonald's and other fast food restaurants. I'm just climbing up the colored tubes, hearing other children laughing and having a grand time, and I'm playing with them. I'm having a good time too. But eventually I climb up those tubes and I end up in one of those small rooms with all the other tubes connected. The room is so much darker, and even though there should be windows around to see outside the play area, there are none. And it is completely, deathly silent, even though I just saw a few of my friends go into this room. In the center of a room, lit by only a small light, is a baby no older than 2. They were staring in a seemingly random direction, and I got worried because it was too young to be inside this playhouse. So I went over to it, picked it up, put it on my lap, and was trying to ask it questions to see if it knew how to speak to try and find its parents. Suddenly, though, there was a light in the direction that the baby was staring, and it had some static noises, like a TV. I look over and I do see a TV, and right now there's nothing playing but static, but I feel almost pulled in a way. I feel like I couldn't look away even if I wanted to. And the static noises started to change, and I hear the sound of a VCR playing. It starts to play what seems to be a really old movie, with all the music is playing in the background, and that old, like staticky voice that VCRs used to have with their low quality. It starts to come through the television, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the screen jumps to life, and it shows a woman who's nicely dressed, speaking in front of a farm. I realized then that this is a documentary, and it's a documentary about the family who lives there and how they lost everything they loved and wanted to make a warning to the public. The farm in the video is completely rotted, it's breaking apart, but the family doesn't seem to care. The farmer himself is getting interviewed, and he talks about how they used to have a cat who he loved, and it chased all the mice and rats around the barn and killed them before they could get to the feed or into the house. He loved his cat and made sure it was always well taken care of. The farmer and his wife eventually had a baby, and they raised the child with the cat and their farm. They did try to get the cat to love the baby more and give more affection to the baby, but the cat was always a little wary. It never actually hurt the child, never hissed at it or swapped at it with a paw, but it never got close either. In the words of the farmer,
"Cat was more focused on getting rid of the mice more than loving our baby."
Which honestly was fine for all of them. They didn't want a rat or mouse to somehow hurt their only child, and the cat wanted to kill the rat and mice. All was good. For a moment. One day the cat was doing its usual chores, and it was going around and killing any of the rats or the mice that it saw. But on the far side of his land, in an old barn, It was always filled with bugs, rats, owls, just any kind of wildlife that would have usually been chased off by the cat would live there. It was never used because it was so far and so broken, and inside of it lived a small colony of rats. They were abnormal, and some looked like they were honestly glued together or something. They lived in this rotting log that was laid out on the side of the barn house. The cat never really ventured out to this barn house, maybe because it knew it was there, or maybe because there was always such a big problem near the house it never had time to go further. Either way, one day, this little cat made its way to its barn, and it killed every single rat. The farmer heard all this ruckus and ran over to the barn to see what remained, but there was nothing. Nothing but the cat, who was starting to act odd. It was hissing and scratching at itself, drawing blood, before rushing into the rotting wood when the farmer tried to get nearby. He didn't know what to do, and he tried to pull the cat out forcefully, but he gave up when it started to hiss and swipe at him. He decided to leave some water out. Maybe the cat was sick and just didn't feel well from what it ate, and he promised that when the cat was finally in his arms again, he would take his beloved pet to the vet and make sure that there wasn't something in the rats that made it ill. That night, his cat ended up returning to the house and acted like nothing was wrong. Still worried, they called the vet, agreed to meet the next day, and went to bed. He was sleeping well before being woken up by his wife screaming in a different room.
Our child?
She cried.
Our child is missing! Where's my baby?
The husband shot up out of bed, got his shoes on, and ran outside. He looked everywhere, the fields, the farm, the shed, while his wife checked the house and called the police. He ran out to every corner of his land until suddenly he heard crying. It was an awful, garbled cry, which made him run into the abandoned barn which he heard it from, and immediately saw his cat on the same log that he hid in the day before. The video suddenly cut before we got to see the cat, and it returned to the farmer's face during the interview. He was crying, shaking to get the words out.
The water was black,
was all he said first, before finally continuing. His beloved cat was there, eating the child. In a panic, he ended up killing the cat to get it to stop, but there was nothing they could do to save the baby. The baby passed away in that barn. They held a funeral and prayed every night to God for peace. One night, in his sleep, he received a message. The rats were a part of the devil. By killing them, your cat became the devil itself. It was trying to use your child as a vessel. Even now, it is residing inside that rotting log, waiting for the next fool to taste its temptation. He talked about how he woke up in a cold sweat that night and went quickly outside to get rid of the log. It did not matter, it was in the middle of the night and nobody was awake. He needed to remove it from his farm. Inside the barn, all the wildlife stirred and watched, but not even the bugs would go near the log. The cat's corpse was still rotting away on it, and while he was there, he mentioned that he had another vision on how to seal the evil away. He knew if he touched the log, he himself could be tainted by the devil, so he had to do it in a way that kept him and his family safe. He ended up carving the wood into a star, apparently locking all the evil intent away, and then locking it up so no one else could use that power again. Years went by, and the couple continued to have misfortune on their farm. But they were able to manage. They were never able to have another child, though, and spent their lives just barely getting by with just each other and their animals. The reporter cut him off as he talked about the trouble he's had, and asked if they could see the star. He showed them a photo, and told them that the reason he asked to do this interview is because the star went missing a few weeks before. He wanted to warn everyone that somewhere in the world, he thinks the devil is hiding in a wooden star, waiting to be released. As he speaks these last few words, the screen is back, showing like it was on an old television again. This feeling I had, it was always there, but it grew stronger in my gut. I started to feel fear. It was the strongest I've ever been afraid in my life, and I looked down at the child on my lap, and I noticed that there, wrapped around its neck, was a large wooden star. I start to get scared, and I start to feel that feeling overwhelm my senses as the child slowly starts to turn to look at me. but then I woke up. That nightmare shook me to my core when I had it, and I remember being so scared for days to sleep. Ever since then, I've had almost this sixth sense in a way. In my dreams, sometimes, even if I'm having fun, I'll get this feeling that I had back in that nightmare, and it'll force me awake. Whatever was in that dream is still following me to today, and I was always afraid to face it. I'll be the first to admit it. I've never once thought about facing it, and I've had friends who do enjoy dream interpretations, and they've said you need to face it, but I couldn't explain to them why I felt like I was in danger. So, after that, and up till today, I would just jump from dream to dream, avoiding it, and whatever it came with, good or bad. It's never caught up with me to the point that it did in that first dream. At least until a few weeks ago. I'm going to spare the details of this dream because it is very long, but the long and short is that I was going to old locations from my childhood. And this was like locations from when I was in 3rd grade. I explored around at my old school, still as an adult though, and I just enjoyed the walk down memory lane. But suddenly I got a call from my friend, saying that my family had all been murdered and I was next. They felt it was a serial killer. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I needed to get somewhere safe. So I ended up jumping from dream to dream. Old dreams, new dreams, didn't matter. I was jumping all over the place. And this was the first time that my first self, it never actually said it was a dream, but they were things that I recognized as a dream. I eventually end up in a completely different area. It's more fantasy-based, with people living in large, winding trees and winding roots. None of them wanted to help me. They told me I have angered something powerful, and if they go against it, then they will die too, and they have their own community to worry about. I was told that I was the only one left out of any other self I had, parallel world, dreams, anything. I have somehow managed to enrage this creature so much that it has killed off my family, it has killed off any form of me, and it is coming for actual me next. I remember feeling absolutely terrified. I didn't know what to do, but I get that feeling again, and I know it's coming. And this was one of the few times where I was aware of the feeling in my gut, and I turn around to see this shadow taking over the land. Everyone starts going into hiding, and I see my aunt. And I'm sure that's a psychological issue because of issues between me and my aunt, but it shocked me. She started screaming that she wanted me dead. But since I kept jumping worlds, she's going to make me suffer way more than death. I had some kind of agreement apparently, and I had terminated the agreement by jumping from world to world. I have broken these rules that I wasn't allowed to break, and I didn't know what she was talking about at all. I still don't. She reached down to try and tear through the trees to get to me, but because she was so big and this village was so small, I was able to dive through the roots and fall down to the bottom. I ended up finding a door, and this one creature, I can't remember what they look like, they helped me open it. They told me they would hold it off for me to get out in time. I see her face one last time, screeching at me that if I go through that door, I will regret it. But I didn't really have a choice. I opened the door, walked through, and woke up. And that was, to me, all the evidence I needed to know that I can't be facing this thing. At least not right now. I am not ready. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something actual or something psychological. But this was the first time. Even in the very first nightmare I had of it, it never directly came at me. It was integrated in the dream, but it was not, like, causing an issue. I don't know how to say this right. Like, I don't know how to explain it. This last dream was the most aggressive it's ever acted. In the first dream, for example, if it was always there in my lap, it had every opportunity to get rid of me if it wanted to, but it never did. This was the first time that it made an active effort to try and get to me. No sneaky method, no hiding in a cup, because that's what it used to do in all my other dreams. It would hide. And if I found the thing it was hiding in, I'd be screwed. Which is why I naturally would wake up when I felt that feeling, because I have no way to know what it was hiding in. So, how it managed to get so aggravated to finally become a force of violence to take over the dream completely baffled me. And I don't know I don't even know what to say about the person who called me in my dream. If they didn't call me, I would have still been in that school. It was a very open area, and I don't know if I would have had any chance. So, that's also a stroke of luck that may be just a dream, maybe not. Though honestly, that's all I have to say about this. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any other crazy dreams that you've had, I would love to hear them. I love dreams. I've always been a huge fan of them. I would never trade my dreams for anything. Even if it turns out this is the reason I've been having super vibrant dreams, I would continue to keep it. Because it's the one thing I look forward to, is seeing what crazy shenanigans will happen. If you enjoy me talking about my dreams, let me know. I have, like I said, plenty to go over. Not all of them are as scary, some of them are silly, some of them make no sense. Once again though, thank you all so much for 900 subs. You are amazing, and I appreciate it immensely. Make sure to drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a good day. See y'all in the next video.